Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his own love for us. You see, first we have to understand that this is the love of God. This is not the love of man. They're very different things, and potentially one of the most watered down, misconstrued washaways of a word in our modern language is this word love. It has so many different meanings. It has so many different things. It can be so powerful yet so weak. Like, I love food. But that's not the same love that God has for humanity. I love shoes. But it's not the same love that God has for you. Love is this thing, but we have to understand God's great love comes from God. It's not our earthly perspective of love. It's not our Valentine's Day perspective of love. This is the love of God. This is the love formed and fashioned in the creator of the universe. God is the Alpha and the Omega. That means he's the beginning and the end. There's none like him. There's none before him. In fact, the Bible tells us that God is love. So then whatever God says, whatever God does, it's always from love, because he is the essence. He is the tangible reality of love. This is not the love of the world. This is the love of God. And in the Greek literature, there are three words throughout Scripture used to describe love. The first one is only found in the Old Testament, and it's the Greek word Eros, which is where we get our word erotic. And this means love in the Greek language. But this is the kind of love that was more so used in Greek mythology and pagan parties of things, for lack of a better term, that we would call orgies or revelries. They were these, it was used to describe this emotion of love, that when people would come together, they would drink to their just like an outrageous amount. They would eat food of expensive and delicious flavors, and they would engage in activities where they would put their inhibitions aside and defile themselves in such a way that they considered to be amazing, that we would consider quite detestable. This is erotic, Eros love. Some say it's like a romantic love, but for me, the most romantic love we can find is the love of God, not the love of the world. Not an erotic love, but a pure love founded and fashioned in the reality of Jesus Christ. So that's Eros. The other love is the word philia or phileo, which speaks of a brotherly love, a love between one another, a love I'll have for a friend that's deep, but it's a brotherly love. But the love that we're talking about today is none of those two. It's the love of God, and it's the famous love, you've probably heard of it, called agape love. Agape is the love of God for man and the love of man for God. It is an unconditional love that transcends and persists regardless of circumstance. Agape love is the word that was formed because of Christianity. It's the love of God. Agape love is this love that only God can have for humanity, and it's a love that only a person can have once they've been regenerated by the Spirit of God and saved into the family of God. This is not a love that the world, those separate from God, can express, can have. The Bible tells us that those who don't know God, they can't love. It's not talking about the phileo love where they can't love a brother. It's a love that can only be expressed and lived out by someone who is a child of God. This is agape love. And the famous scripture in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4, it speaks of love. It says, love is patient, love is kind. This is the agape love. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This is the love of God. It's so important in our culture, in our world, to understand when we speak of the love of God, it is not the love of the world. It's not comparable to the love of the world. This is the depth of God's love, and his love was so ferocious. His love was so passionate that he was moved to give his son because of this great love.